I noticed it before I understood it. That's the thing about betrayal. Your body recognizes it long before your mind allows it to exist. The door felt wrong. Not locked, not broken, just resistant. My key slid in the way it always had, metal grazing metal, a familiar friction I could have identified blindfold. But when I turned it, there was a delay. Not mechanical, not physical, hesitation, as if something on the other side had to decide whether I was allowed in. I stood there longer than necessary, my fingers still curled around the key, my forehead almost touching the wood. I could smell something faint through the crack, a scent that didn't belong to the house. Not ours. Something synthetic. Laundry detergent maybe. Floral but sharp. Too clean. Too new. My chest tightened, not in panic, not yet, just a subtle compression, like someone gently pressing their palm against my sternum and holding it there. I turned the key fully. The click came late. The door opened slowly, like it was being pulled from the other side, though I knew it wasn't. I stepped in, and immediately everything felt displaced. Not dramatically, not enough for someone else to notice, but I felt it. The air had weight. The silence had texture. Even the light filtering through the same old curtains looked diluted, like it had been watered down while I was gone. I closed the door behind me carefully, softer than usual, as if I were entering someone else's space. Because it felt like I was. My shoes stayed on longer than they should have. I didn't move right away. I just stood there in the entryway, listening. There were voices. Muffled. Casual. My mother's laugh, thin, stretched, a version of it she only used when she was trying to sound effortless. And another voice. Male. Unfamiliar. My jaw tightened, but I didn't move yet. Instead, I focused on something small. The shoe rack. One extra pair. Black sneakers. Not mine. Not my father's. Positioned slightly off alignment with the others, like they hadn't learned the rhythm of the house yet. I swallowed. My throat felt dry, but not from thirst, from anticipation. Each breath I took felt measured, deliberate, like I had to convince my body to continue functioning. Then I walked. Slowly. Each step felt louder than it should have. The floorboards didn't creak, but I heard them anyway, echoing in my head, amplified, accusing. By the time I reached the living room doorway, the voices had become clearer. What? Just temporary, my mother was saying, her tone light, dismissive. Temporary. The word landed somewhere deep, but I didn't examine it yet. I stepped into the room, and everything stopped. Not literally, but it felt like it did. My mother turned first. Her smile appeared instantly, too quickly, too complete, like it had been waiting just beneath the surface, ready to deploy. Daniel, she said, as if my presence required no explanation, no adjustment. As if I hadn't just walked into something I wasn't supposed to see. My father didn't turn immediately. He finished whatever he was doing, pouring tea, I realized, before setting the kettle down with precise care. Only then did he look at me. Measured, neutral, controlled. And then there was the man sitting on the couch. Late 20s, maybe early 30s. Relaxed posture. Too relaxed. He didn't stand. He didn't even look particularly surprised. He just watched me, curious, like I was the unexpected variable. Not him. Something inside my chest shifted then, subtle but irreversible. Who is that? I asked. My voice sounded normal. Too normal. Flat. Controlled. Devoid of the tension I could feel threading through every muscle in my body. My mother laughed again, softer this time, like she was smoothing over something insignificant. Oh, Daniel, this is Min, she said. Hayes. What? Staying with us for a bit, staying. The word echoed. Not visiting. Not passing through. Staying. My eyes moved to the couch again, to him. Min. He gave a small nod, like we were being introduced at a casual dinner party. Hey, he said. Hey. I didn't respond. Instead, I looked back at my parents. Neither of them looked uncomfortable. That was the first real fracture. Because they should have been. There should have been hesitation, explanation, something. But there was nothing. Just expectation. Like I was supposed to accept this without question. Like I was the one entering out of place. Why, I asked. One word. It felt heavier than it sounded. My father stepped in this time. He needed a place, he said simply. Needed. Another word placed carefully, like a brick in a structure I hadn't agreed to build. In my room, I asked. There it was. The first real shift in the air. Not visible, but tangible. My mother's smile tightened just slightly. Daniel, is he staying in my room? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to, because the silence that followed did the work for me. My father's gaze didn't waver. Yes, the word was clean, sharp, final. Something in my head didn't process it immediately. It just unstalled, like a skipped frame in a film. I blinked once, twice. Move his things, I said. Still calm, still controlled. But underneath it, something was beginning to vibrate. Low, constant, unstable. My mother sighed, not apologetically, annoyed. Daniel, don't make this difficult, she said. Difficult. I felt my fingers curl slightly at my side. Move his things, I repeated. And then Min spoke again. Casual, almost amused. I already unpacked, he said. Unpacked. The word hit differently. Not just staying, settling, rooting, claiming. My vision narrowed slightly, not dramatically, just enough to sharpen certain details. The crease in the couch cushion where he sat. The way his arm rested along the back, comfortable, unbothered. The faint scent of that unfamiliar detergent, stronger now. In my house, in my air. You can take the guest room, my father added, like he was offering a compromise, like he was being reasonable. The guest room, smaller, window facing the wall next door. A room that had never been mine. Something inside my chest twisted, not violently, not explosively. Slowly, deliberately, like something was being unscrewed from the inside. No, I said. The word came out quieter this time, but heavier. I'll stay in my room. Another pause. This one long flicker. My mother's expression changed, not drastically, but enough. The smile disappeared, replaced by something colder. You're being selfish, she said. Selfish. The word didn't hurt. It didn't even surprise me. But it landed somewhere important. Because it didn't fit. Not here. Not now. And yet she said it like it did. Like the narrative had already shifted, and I hadn't caught up. I live here, I said. A simple statement of fact. Or at least it used to be. My father exhaled slowly, like he was preparing to explain something obvious to someone stubborn. We all live here, he said. No. That wasn't the same. That wasn't. I stopped. Because suddenly something else was rising. Not anger. Not yet. Something more unsettling. Doubt. Small. Sharp. Persistent. It slipped into the space between my thoughts, quiet but invasive. And for a moment, just a moment, I couldn't immediately push it out. Because of the way they were looking at me. Both of them. Not defensive. Not guilty. Certain. As if I was the one misunderstanding something fundamental. As if I had walked into a situation that had already been decided. Finalized. Without me. And that's when I felt it. Not in my chest. Not in my head. But deeper. A shift in ownership. Not physical, not legal, something more abstract, more dangerous. The kind that doesn't require paperwork. The kind that happens slowly, through repetition, through pressure, through being told something enough times that it begins to feel true. You should have told me, I said. But even as I said it, it felt weaker. Like the argument had already moved past that point. My mother shrugged. It's just temporary. There it was again. But now it sounded different, thinner, less stable, like a word being used to cover something much larger. I looked at Min again. He didn't look temporary. He looked comfortable. And comfort, I realized, doesn't happen overnight. It builds, settles, expands, quietly, just like this. I walked toward my room anyway. No one stopped me. That was the second fracture. Because they should have. If I wasn't allowed, if it wasn't mine anymore, someone should have said something. But they didn't. They just watched, which was worse, because it meant they didn't see the night. The hallway felt longer than usual, narrower. The walls seemed closer, the air slightly heavier with each step. My hand brushed against the wall as I walked, grounding myself in something physical, something familiar. But even that felt off, like touching something that looked the same but wasn't. When I reached the door, it was slightly open. Just enough. A thin line of darkness cutting through the light. I pushed it, slowly. The door creaked this time. It had never creaked before. Inside, everything was wrong. Not rearranged, not destroyed, just replaced. My bed was still there. My desk, my shelves, but none of them felt like mine. Because my things weren't there. Not gone, just displaced, stuck, bugged, moved to the side like they were waiting for a decision that had already been made. And in their place, his things, clothes in my closet, folded, organized, comfortable, a bag on my chair, open, claimed. The scent hit me harder in here. That same sharp, floral detergent. It filled the space, overpowered everything else, erased whatever had been mine before. I stepped in, one step, then another. My breathing had changed, shallower, faster, not enough to panic, just enough to notice. I reached out and touched the edge of the desk. My desk. The wood felt the same, but the objects on it weren't. A what? Not mine. Faisal. Not mine. Small things. Insignificant. Except they weren't, because they were evidence of presence, of replacement, of something being overwritten. Slowly, systematically, without permission. Behind me I heard footsteps, soft, unhurried. I didn't turn immediately. I didn't want to, because I already knew who it was. Look, my father said, his voice calm, measured. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. I closed my eyes for a second. Just one. And in that second, something inside me shifted again. Not breaking. Not snapping. Just loosening. Like a grip slipping. On something important. Something that defined where I stood. Where I belonged. Who I was in this space. I opened my eyes. And for the first time, I wasn't entirely sure anymore. I kept my hand on the desk longer than necessary. Not gripping it, just resting there, fingers spread slightly, as if I could feel something beneath the surface if I stayed still enough. The wood was cool, unfamiliar in a way that didn't make sense, because I knew this death. I had leaned over it for years. Late night, early morning, moments that used to feel like they belonged to me. But now it felt like I was touching a memory that no longer recognized me. Behind me, my father shifted his weight. I could hear the fabric of his shirt brush faintly against itself. Controlled, patient, waiting. Not for me to understand, for me to comply. It's just for a while, he said again. The repetition didn't reinforce the idea. It hollowed it out. Words repeated too many times start to lose structure. They collapse inward, like something being eroded from the inside. I turned slowly, not fully, just enough to see him in my peripheral vision. That was enough. He wasn't tense. He wasn't apologetic. He looked unsettled. Like this version of the house, the one where I didn't quite fit, made sense to him. Where are my things? I asked. The question came out quieter than I expected. Not weak, just distant. He gestured vaguely toward the corner. They're there. Not yours. Not important. Just there. I followed the gesture. Boxes, stacked carefully, almost respectfully. But that made it worse, because it meant this wasn't careless. This wasn't rushed. This had been done slowly, deliberately, thought through, which meant they had time to consider me. And they chose not to. I walked toward the boxes. Each step felt heavier now, like the floor was resisting me. Or maybe I was resisting the movement. I crouched slightly and opened the top one. Clothes, folded, night to night. I didn't remember folding them like that. I touched one of the shirts. The fabric felt thinner than I remembered. Worn, out of place, like it had aged while I wasn't looking. Or maybe I had. You can move your stuff to the guest room. My mother's voice came from the hallway now. Closer, sharper. I didn't look at her. I'm not moving, I said. This time the words didn't come out flat. There was something underneath them. Not anger. Something quieter. More dangerous. A kind of insistence that didn't need volume, a refusal. Kind that doesn't negotiate. Silence followed. Lego. Pressurized. Then you don't get to decide that, my father. The words landed clean. But they didn't settle, they hovered. Because something about them didn't align with reality. Or at least the version of reality I had been holding on to. Slowly I stood up. Turned. Fully this time. My mother was leaning against the doorframe now. Arms crossed. Expression tight. My father stood just behind her. Steady. Still. And suddenly I saw it. Not in a dramatic flash. Not a revelation. Just one. A shift in perspective. Like something coming into focus after being slightly blurred. They weren't reacting to me. They were managing me. Everything they said. Every word. Every tone. Every pause. It wasn't about explaining. It was about guiding me toward an outcome. One where I stepped aside. Voluntarily. Quietly. Without forcing them to confront anything. And the worst part was how subtle it was. No confrontation. No direct conflict. Just pressure. Soft. Persistent. Shaping. And for a moment, a small, terrifying moment, I felt it working. Felt my thoughts begin to reorganize around it. Maybe it wasn't a big deal. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe no. The thought cut itself off. Abrupt. Violent. Too fast. Like something inside me refused to let it finish. My chest tightened again, but this time it wasn't confusion. It was clarity. Sharp. Cold. Uncomfortable. Because clarity doesn't feel good when it arrives late. I do get to decide, I said. My voice was different now. Lower. Not louder. But anchored. And something shifted in their expressions. Just slightly. Not fear. Not even surprise. But something close to irritation. Like I had disrupted the flow. You're being unreasonable, my mother said. The word again. Unreasonable. It sounded practiced now. Like part of a script. I took a step forward. Then another. Not toward them. Toward the center of the room. Reclaiming space. Physically. Even if nothing else had been acknowledged yet. This is my room, I said. Silent. Then no, my father said. Simple. Flat. Final. The word didn't echo this time. It settled. Heavy. And something inside me. Tilted. Not broke. Not yet. But shifted off balance. Because of how easily he said it. How certain he was. As if he believed it. Completely. And that was the problem. Not the word. The belief behind them. Because belief repeated, reinforced, shared becomes reality. Not legally. Not logically. But psychologically. And I could feel it pressing in. From all sides. Rewriting the structure of something I had never thought to question. Until now. You sold it, the voice came from behind me. Man. I hadn't even noticed when he moved. But he was in the doorway now. Lining slightly. Watching. Not involved. But not separate either. Just. Present. Observing. And then what he said caught up to me. Not immediately. It slipped in quietly. Almost unnoticed. Until it wasn't. I turned. Slowly. What? He shrugged. Casual. Like it was obvious. They told me, he said. You sold the house, everything stopped. Not the world. Just everything inside me. Thought. Breath. Movement. All of it. Paused. Because the sentence didn't make sense. Not structurally. Not contextually. It didn't fit into anything I understood. I didn't, I said. But the words felt. Thin. Uncertain. Even to me. My mother exhaled sharply. Oh, Daniel, stop, she said. We talked about this, talked about no. No, we didn't. Did we? My mind moved quickly now. Too quickly. Reaching. Grabbing. Searching for something solid, a memory, a conversation. Anything. But what I found was noise. Fragment. Blurred edges. Moments that didn't fully connect. My father stepped forward. Closer now. Too close. You signed the papers, he said. Papers. Signed. The words felt real, familiar, but disconnected, like remembering a dream without context. Why do I stop? Because I couldn't finish the sentence. Not because I didn't want to, because I didn't know how. And that was new. That lack of certainty. It spread quickly, from one thought to the next, contaminating everything. I tried again. But even that sounded wrong, because wouldn't implies certainty. And I didn't have that anymore. You did, he said. Firm, grounded, unshakable. And suddenly they both looked at me the same way. Not defensive, not guilty, but concerned. Controlled concern. The kind that feels like it's been placed there intentionally. You've been under a lot of stress, my mother said softly. Too softly. We understand if you don't remember everything clearly. There it was, the shift. Complete, nameless, terrifying. Because it didn't feel like an attack. It felt like care. And that made it harder to fight. Because fighting it meant rejecting the possibility that I was wrong. That my memory was wrong. That I was unstable. I stepped back. Just one step. But it felt like falling. No, I said. Quieter now. Not weaker. But on the search. My mind was moving in circles. Fast. Too fast. Trying to reconstruct something that refused to hold still. I remembered documents, meetings, late night, but not this, not selling, not giving this away, not did I. The thought slipped in, uninvited, unwanted, but it didn't leave, it stayed, small, sharp, and it hurt, because I couldn't immediately destroy it, couldn't prove it wrong, and that was all it needed. Doubt doesn't need proof, just space, and now there was too much of it. You should rest, my father said. His voice softened now, measured, controlled, like he was handling something fragile. You're not thinking clearly, not thinking clearly. The words settled deeper than anything else, because they attacked the only thing I had left. My perception, my certainty, myself. I looked around the room again. Really looked this time. Not at the object. At the placement, the integration. The way everything had shifted to accommodate someone else, as if it had always been this way, as if I was the one out of place. And for a moment, just a moment, it felt true. My chest tightened again, harder this time. Breathing became uneven, not panic, just disrupted, like my body wasn't syncing with itself anymore. You can stay in the guest room, my mother repeated gently. The same offer. But now it sounded different, not like a suggestion, like a solution, to a problem that was me. I didn't answer, because I couldn't, because every answer required certainty, and I didn't have that anymore. Instead, I walked past them, slowly, deliberately, out of the room, down the hallway. Each step felt less grounded than the last, like the floor might not be there if I stopped paying attention. Behind me, I could hear them. Soft voices, low, controlled. But I didn't turn around. I couldn't, because I was afraid of what I might see, or worse, of what I might agree with. The guest room door was open, waiting. I stood in front of it, staring into the small, dim space, the unfamiliar bed, the tight wall, the window facing nothing, and something inside me quietly shifted again. Not violently, not dramatically, just enough to change the direction of everything. I stepped inside, slowly. The air felt different here. Still, stale, unclaimed, or maybe easier to claim. I sat on the edge of the bed, my hands resting on my knees, my fingers twitching slightly like they were trying to remember something important, something I couldn't reach anymore. From the hallway, I heard my mother's voice. Faint. He just needs time. The word echoed softly, but it didn't comfort me, because time was exactly what I no longer trusted. I looked down at my hands. They didn't feel like mine. Not fully. Just slightly off, like everything else. And in that quiet, suffocating stillness, a single thought surfaced. Not loud, not urgent, just present. If they were right, then I had already lost everything. And if they weren't, then I was in a house I owned. Being slowly convinced that I didn't. I didn't know which was worse. And that was the most dangerous part. Because the longer I sat there, the less it felt like there was a difference.